I don't know. I could be streaming. I may not be streaming. I'm not really positive, but just wanted to update this really, really quickly because I don't have a director. I'm here by myself doing this thing, and I really shouldn't be allowed to do so. I just got my driver's license, so uh, literally. Anyway, here's what I know, and I know that watching this storm today has been from a scientist view has been unbelievable at what's going on. I've flown in a Hercules C-130 before. I've been inside of a hurricane, but nothing like this. And I know the people who fly them. I know people who are still flying inside of them, and what an unbelievable, maybe not thankless job, but they don't get recognized all the time. But this has all been about recon during the day today. This has all been about the flights that have been going into this storm through the day today, and the information that they've been feeding back. And Colonel Chad Gibson, who I had on the other night, who was with the 403 for quite a while, he'd be saying that I really need to tout their dedication to what they do. Men and women who are up there. Well, this has all been about that during the day today. And still getting information from aircraft. The two that were out there early in the day today, they left, came back. Now there are two more leaving from Florida, South Florida, that are headed that way. It'll be in the storm very, very short. This quick trip there from Southwest Florida, so they'll be moving on in. But I got to show you where we are. We're at 180 mile per hour winds now, folks, and getting, somewhat stronger. There is the possibility of getting on up there just a little bit more. Now, in my lifetime, we used to talk about Typhoon Tip because the barometric pressure got into the 800s. When I was in college, there was a hurricane named Gilbert that had set the record for the lowest barometric pressure in the Atlantic. So I needed to drive all the way to Mexico to meet that storm so I could be a part of history. Mitch surpassed that. Wilma was a very strong storm. There may be some comparisons, but we don't make comparisons to past hurricanes because they're all super unique. But this one down to 905 millibars, 180 mile per hour winds currently sustained. That means there's some higher gusts out there that are probably going to be a little bit higher. It's moving to the east at about 10 miles an hour now. The 4 p.m. update just coming across, 20, 30 minutes ago or so. So everybody trying to get ready. I know interest along the Gulf Coast, in particular South Central Florida, evacuations are taking place. They're probably going to run the interstates in one direction here pretty soon, I would think. But here's the eye, the center of this hurricane, and it's an unbelievable sight. This is something you did not see with Helene. Helene was cloudy, remember? Didn't have a very well-formed eye. This is a superstorm. This had everything going for it during the day today, by the way. Everything into the upper levels, an anticyclone aloft, a high pressure aloft to exhaust what was coming up from the bottom of the storm. So the exhaustion there helped to allow this to happen, and there's been plenty of that during the day today. Everything that a hurricane could want, super warm water just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. This is the Bay of Campeche, so it's moving on eastward and northward across the bay. So, at this moment, the tinier the eye, it's that whole thing we talk about in the Winter Olympics. When the skater brings their arms closer and closer together, they go faster and faster. Well, that's the force that's being applied here. One of the hurricane flights that flew in today, 912 millibars, but there was a lower pressure that was found a couple of times, and they fly X's. That's what you're seeing there. You go in, you go past it. You can't just go make a turn. You have to make an X and come back to make a grid. And that's where all this information came from during the day today. That's why all of these super quick, and we'll talk about them in a minute, all the quick updates that were coming out. Now, this is one of the graphs, and you can see the little, it looks like a heartbeat, doesn't it? It looks like an echocardiogram. Well, that was the situation where, let me see if I can back that up, actually, because it's a pretty interesting point. Right there. Let's go past that, and let me do this. You can see up there in the upper part of the picture, the upper left-hand side. This is, some of the instrumentation going into the storm in the flight. And the jagged line up there, the red line is going to be the barometric pressure. So it bottomed out. You can see it bottom out down there about the 910. If you go to the left-hand side, that's the barometric pressure. And the wind speeds are also up there. Flight level winds show up with some peak winds. You can see up in the 150 range there. But the data coming in, this is why the NHC, the National Hurricane Center down in Miami, Florida, has issued what they did. And the two big spikes there again showing you as they flew into the hurricane, that's where the barometric pressure bottomed out. Now, still, let's go to another one here. Still, this trajectory brings this storm down through the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico, north of the Yucatan, and starts a swing upward. Now, we're not talking about a straight line. We're talking about a curve that this thing has to make, and then an endpoint. Super critical, although in this case, because this storm is so huge, it's not going to be that big of a deal, because within 200 miles either way, it is still going to cause tremendous damage. Now, in the back of my mind, I know two things, and I'm only saying this. If I were on television, if I were on national television, I wouldn't say what I'm about to say, because I wouldn't want people out there to take a false sense of security. But there are some factors here. When I look at the forecast down the road, this hurricane is not going to like. It had everything it wanted over the past 24 hours, and it's about to, in the next 24 hours, encounter everything it does not want to maintain its perfect shape. There's a huge influence to the north, a southwesterly jet that will be encompassed into this that can oftentimes just rip a hurricane apart. That's my greatest wish at this point, for that to happen. But you have to go with caution. And so even though there's a slowing, you can see it here where they went from 145 down to 125 at landfall. Significant downturn from the 175, 180. But 125, now that's what we were talking about last week with Helene, and we saw what it did. It's not going to go up through the Carolinas, by the way. It's going to be dry. It's actually going to be beautiful weather on the western side of this. I'm going to feel guilty here in Panama City, Florida, because maybe some of the most beautiful weather we've had in a while. The humidity is going to be low. North wind temperature will be low. But the rest of the peninsula of Florida, through the Big Bend, the eastern Big Bend, and the rest of the coast, everybody there is going to be affected, and affected greatly no matter where you are, because there's no way you can stop this thing super fast. And as much as I want to say I can see that possibility of some really dry air trying to get entrained in this thing, I don't think we can slow it down to where it's not going to be devastating for some people there on the western side of Florida. So again, here's the trajectory. Here's what the latest says. And a Tampa Bay eye wall would just be devastating. If you were pushing water up into Tampa Bay, the north end of Tampa Bay, it would be devastating. There would be really high water there. And you can see now the storm surge possibilities in purple, 10 to 15 feet above the norm. And I don't know what the tide is, but we'll have to add the tidal change onto that as well. And up and down the line, the storm surge is really significant. From Yankeetown down to the Enclosed, you're looking at 5 to 10. From there southward down to Inglewood, 10 to 15. And even as far south as, Flamingo or Fort Myers, there's some 5 to 10 foot possibilities there too. And just to show you the evolution of the storm, I want to look back for just a second, and it didn't even update to the last recorded 180. But if you actually go from 0Z on the left-hand side, 0Z UTC is 7 o'clock yesterday. So if you look at that, there was an 85. We had 85 mile per hour winds yesterday at 6 o'clock. We're 5, 6 o'clock. We're approaching that hour now, and we've gone up to 180. So 100 miles per hour has been gained since yesterday. The barometric pressure change has been ungodly. I don't know if there are records being set here. It didn't make sense to spend time looking at that. But the other part of this is, yeah, media's all over this, and you're gonna hear so much stuff over the next 24 hours, and rightly so. But all this is just stuff at the moment. All this is a geek moment at this moment because it's not hurting anybody. So we're looking at a phenomena out there that is taking place, and some super science going on here. And really, I've heard storm of a generation. I can actually believe that. But with this landfall, if it goes up toward Tampa Bay, that would be super devastating. So people are evacuating there, like I said, up and down the western coast of Florida. Very significant, huge storm. There are flash flood risks that are going to be going on across central Florida. Really from Orlando southward. My niece was headed to Orlando to take her kids there, but the airport is going to close down, if not tomorrow night, I know for sure, on Wednesday. And pretty much that's where we stand at this point. And so I'm not going to stay on here for long because I don't have a ton of information other than what I just showed you. I can show you satellite pictures all day long because it is a stunning, stunning sight. But the human element comes out, and tomorrow we'll be talking, 24 hours from now, we'll have a much better idea about this weakening trend. And you can only pray at this point that that's something that is under forecast. Again, right now you're just seeing story and story everywhere you turn, everywhere you look. It's how ungodly huge this storm is. And again, rightly so. But let's get back to the reality that tomorrow we're going to be looking at not so much of the extended, the superlative of this whole event. We'll be looking at how quickly can this thing weaken, and we'll just have to watch forecast after forecast for that to see if that actually materializes. So say to you at this point, that's what we know. Any other changes tonight, again, are out there in the middle of the Gulf, in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico, and not hurting anyone. Ships can go around it, But then you start talking about the human element, and somebody mentioned to me earlier, what about all the animals? And that's when it'll really hit home. We've got, during the day tomorrow, we've got so many people deployed that'll be out there to show you the images and show you what's going on. Will certainly be, it's all about pictures at that point, or you end up being a radio station, but it truly is fascinating to look at this point. But the big story is, humans and what's going to happen there, and how all this is going to change life for many, many people. You've seen what's happened in the Carolinas. You saw what happened in, the Great Smoky Mountains and beyond. Now it's going to be a similar situation for the state of Florida. So I'm going to drop out now, and hope I didn't screw this up royally. And we'll reconvene probably tonight at some point. I'm going to go back and watch this, and if I got it right, I'll do it again tonight. If my mic sounds like a cartoon, I won't. So God bless you. I hope you have a nice evening. Think about others tonight as well. And we'll be back with more information during the day tomorrow. And I'll have pictures for you and show you what is going on. Nobody else will have more pictures, more video. I can guarantee you that. And I'm truly concerned for the state of Florida. I'm a Floridian now in some senses because I just moved here about 6 months ago, but I'm not in the way of this. Anyway, that's where we are. I wish you a good night, and we'll talk again tomorrow.